Hello. Okay, I'm going to do my fourth Christmas character from lesser known European folklore Christmas stories today. I've been working on this set, doing a live streams for the days leading up till Christmas. I have in this set Krampus from Austria. He's fairly well known at this point over here in North America. La Befana from Italy, the Christmas witch. The Ukrainian Christmas spider from Eastern Ukraine. The Yule cat, Jólakötturinn from Iceland. And today I'm doing Caga Tió, also known as the pooping log, from the Catalonia region of Spain. So these are what the cookie cutters look like. So cookie cutter and stamp set, two separate pieces. And then that's how it looks once it's baked. This is just a gingerbread cookie. So you can leave it as is. You don't have to decorate it or just frost the backside or, dip it in white chocolate or something. But I'm doing live streams for each one showing the decorating process. For those of you who own these cookie cutters and stamps, I'm saving these live streams to my feed so you can reference them later if you want to learn how to decorate them, sort of as like a free tutorial. Here's my La Befana cookie. Decorated her last week. So this is the Christmas witch from Italy. Christmas spider. This is Eastern Ukraine. And the Yule cat from Iceland. And then today I'm doing Caga Tió, the pooping log. So I'm just going to get started. And this is how he will turn out. So this live stream, I'm hoping it will be no more than like an hour and a half. But this is how it starts, and this is how he will turn out. This is one I did last year, and I coated it in resin and added some magnets to the back, so he's been on my fridge all year. But yeah, you should Google this story if you don't know it to see some examples of him. But I will also tell you the story of Caga Tió, the pooping log. Okay, so I'm going to just get started outlining every part of this cookie. So Caga Tió is Catalonian, translates to pooping log. It actually directly translates to a much ruder version of the word poop, the version that starts with the letter S. So the pooping log, he is a whimsical Christmas tradition in Catalonia, Spain. And other parts of Catalonia, Catalan-speaking regions. And this tradition centers around a log that is decorated with a red hat, a painted face, and his sort of like lower body, and they add on these little front legs, so he sort of stands up. And his lower body is covered with a blanket. Starting on December the 8th, families, quote unquote, feed the pooping log. Like how one might leave out cookies and milk for Santa Claus and the reindeers. The families feed the pooping log. By placing it in they place it in a spot in their home, feed him, they offer him food, fruit, nuts, in anticipation of the log pooping out gifts, on Christmas. So then on Christmas Eve, the children gather around the pooping log, sing traditional songs and physically beat him. While they demand that he produce gifts. And then they remove the blanket from his lower half, and lo and behold, there are small presents, candies, and other sort of stocking stuffer sized treats underneath the blanket that he has magically defecated. So that is the story of the pooping log, and I think it is absolutely hysterical. as I work through this cookie. If you guys have any questions on the process or just about cookie decorating in general, let me know. I'll be here for the next hour and a bit working through this cookie. Okay, so I've gone over pretty much every line here. Might just do a little more outline on the boxes, the gift boxes. So I'm just outlining everything that my stamp has impressed into the dough, and then I'll flood every portion, and then I'm gonna go over it again with my piping icing, and then hopefully it will be dry enough so that I can do some painting work on it, all within like the hour. All right, so I'm gonna start with his hat. I'll flip them around here. It's just a little easier for me, and then my hand's not blocking the cookie. Okay, so portion of his hat's done. I'll flood his face next. And this face I'm just doing like, it's almost like a flesh tone color, but it's just the cross section of the piece of wood here. And then I'm gonna paint on like the rings of the log once this is dry. And if you're just joining now, this character that I am decorating, this is the pooping log Caga Tió from Catalonia, Spain. Catalonia is a region. It includes Barcelona. So if you've been there over Christmas, maybe you've seen this little guy before. He's a tradition, in Catalan-speaking regions. In Spain, they dress up this log with sort of two front legs and a face painted on the front and a hat with a blanket covering his lower half. Throughout the month of December, he's positioned in everyone's home. They feed him, treats, offer him food, in the hopes that on Christmas he will magically poop gifts. On Christmas Eve, the children beat him, beat him, sing songs around him, and then when they lift up the blanket from his lower half, magically small gifts, have appeared as if he magically defecated presents. So that is the story behind the pooping log. All right, there's his cute little face. Get started on flooding his little log body. And again, if you're just joining us now, this is the Christmas character from Spain, Caga Tió, the pooping log. And this is a cookie cutter and stamp set that's available in my online shop. It looks like this. So there's a cutter, there's a stamp, creates the impression in the dough. Comes with a little card explaining who he is. So I have done my cookie, stamped my dough, baked it, and now I'm decorating it. And I have 5 of these lesser known characters from European Christmas folklore available in my online shop as cookie cutter and stamp sets. So for Christmas this year, I really wanted to do like a live stream recording on how to decorate all of them, because it is a question I get, and I don't want to like put together paid for classes because they require you buy the cookie cutter. And usually if I do like a paid for class, it usually encompasses a bit more than that, like where templates are involved or hand cutting, or there's, because there's no cookie cutters involved. So these ones are just buy the cookie cutter. And if you want to learn how to decorate them, I'm saving these live streams to my feed so they can just be accessed at any time in the future. So you can follow along, because all you need is the cookie cutter and stamp, and then just your choice of colors. And, piping and flooding icing. And of course, if anyone has any questions about this cookie or cookie decorating, in general, as I work through this, just let me know, and I'll answer it. I'll be live for the next, hour or so, working my way through this cookie, and then I'll save this video to my feed. All right, so somebody's just joined and they're asking, what is this cookie? So again, if you've just joined, his name is, he's called Caga Tió. It translates to pooping log in Catalonia region of Spain. So this is a tradition that they have in the Catalan region of Spain. I think it is like a riot of a story. I think it's so funny. It's so cute. So the pooping log is, it's a very whimsical tradition in Catalonia, Spain. Barcelona's in that region, if you're wondering, and other Catalan-speaking regions. So this tradition centers around a log. You can see he's a log decorated with a face, and sort of two front legs that prop him up a bit. His lower half is covered with a blanket. And then starting on December the 8th, families feed him, like how one might leave out cookies and milk for Santa. The families feed him food, fruit, nuts, in a prominent spot in their home, in anticipation of the log pooping out gifts. Christmas gifts. And then on Christmas Eve, children gather around Caga Tió and sing traditional songs, use sticks to beat him, and while demanding that he produce gifts. And then they remove the blanket from his lower half, and lo and behold, you reveal, a little collection of sort of stocking stuffer sized gifts, treats, candies, as if he had just magically defecated gifts from underneath his blanket. So that is the story behind Caga Tió, it is a real tradition in Spain. These are not stories I'm making up. I did some research on lesser known Christmas folklore characters, and I found some really fun ones. So I put together cookie cutters and stamps. So now I'm doing like live stream tutorials on how to decorate them if you get them from my online shop. And someone else just commented something. Boa Tard, Brazil. I am only assuming that is the same thing, but the Brazil version. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but that is what I just gathered from that comment. Okay, so almost flooded this whole thing. Just got to flood the little gifts here. I'm going to do them in orange. Last year I decorated this cookie. I preserved it with epoxy resin and added magnets to the back. So it's been on my fridge ever since. Last year I did the gifts blue. This year I have orange on hand, so I'm going to do the gifts as orange. liking these orange gifts. All right, so now I've flooded the whole cookie. And I'm going to go back over all of my lines with my black piping icing to just sort of enhance the detail. And then hopefully everything will have dried a little bit, enough so that I can do all the painting work. This was eventually what he'll look like. I did this one last year, so I'll paint on the little like tree rings, the rings around his face. I'll paint on the plaid, so I'll show you guys how to do that. And then just like some shading and highlight details on him as well. And then I will save this video to my feed so it can be accessed at any time. I'm going to add kind of a little more texture on this side here. And then kind of like a little border around this side. And I'm just going to paint in that little bit a darker brown so it looks like a little bit of the log sort of showing from the other side. And of course, the cookie cutter and stamp part of this cookie. So it starts as, this is the cookie cutter and stamp set. So separate pieces. Oops. Whack my camera. You can totally leave it undecorated or like decorate it simply. You don't need a projector to decorate it, which is why I love the cookie cutter and stamp sets. Because you just trace the lines, flood, and then I usually do like another outline. And then they look so cute, and you don't need, you know, an expensive projector or to set up your whole desk with a projector system to be able to decorate them with accuracy. All right. So I'm going to go over his face, his little red nose. This one's a little wonky, so I'll just use my scribe to just kind of straighten it out. All right, getting close to the end of this piping process, and then I will move on to the painting process. And normally I always recommend waiting at least a few hours between like flooding your cookie with icing and painting on it, because the icing is like completely wet underneath. Even if it's, you know, sort of crusted over, you can totally puncture the icing and then ruin your cookie. But because I want to do this as a live stream and have it all in one video to save to my feed, I'm going to paint it all in the same time and just hope that it has dried enough for me to add some painted details. Okay, so here he is at this point. Well, I'm also going to pipe a little white bow on each gift. Oops. That first bow is a little wonky. That's fine. Fix it with some painted details, I think. Okay, so at this point, if you're decorating this cookie, you could totally just leave it like this. He's very cute. I'm going to add all the painted details. Keep going. Hopefully he's a little dry by now. And so these are the details that I'm going to add now. This is the cookie I made last year, so some shading and highlights to his hat. A little shine on his nose, like the rings around the cross-section of the log. Again, some details for the log, shading and details on the gift, and paint the plaid pattern on his blanket. Okay, so we'll start with the hat because that's the first thing I flooded, so it's probably the most dry. And I'm just going to use a little bit of red food gel mixed with my black food gel to just sort of create like a much deeper tone of red. And I'm just going to add in like some painted shadows in the areas where like the fabric is folded over. This paintbrush isn't doing anything for me. I need something a little bit, not quite so long. Here we go. So I'm just using my food gel, my Chef Master food gel, red mixed with brown to create this darker tone, and a bit of vodka to dilute it. And I'm just painting super lightly and like only one layer at a time so that I don't bust through this freshly crusted icing because it is nowhere near dry. Normally I recommend don't paint your cookies until they're fully dry, several hours at least. But I want to do this all in this live stream. So here we are. Sort of painting on, I guess, you know, where fabric sort of folds, sort of following those piped lines. I'd like to paint this section here, like the band, a shade darker, but that part is still very, very wet. So I'm going to come back to that. And while we wait, I will add some of the detail to the logs because his legs have sort of crusted over at this point. So I'm just going to use my super fine tipped paintbrush with my black and I'm just going to sort of paint on like some little swirly bark texture. All right, so there's one leg, got its cute little bark texture on there, and I'll do the second leg. And this is just some black food gel with a very fine tip paintbrush. Paintbrush that I'm using is available in my online shop. It's so fine tipped, and it holds quite a bit of ink. Okay, so there's his little log legs. So someone asks, what am I using to draw on it? So this is, I'm using a paintbrush. You can see how tiny the tip is. It is a very, very like ultra fine tip paintbrush. It looks like this. It's available in my online shop, lucybakes.com. I only use these like for all of the super fine details. You can see how like pencil thin fine line those painted lines are. And then I'm just using Chef Master food gel right now in black to paint. So when I do painting on cookies, I almost exclusively just use my Chef Master food gels, the same kind that I use to color my icing. Same kind that I use to color my icing. It paints on so well. There's really like, unless you have a very specific project that you're working on that requires, you know, metallics or something otherwise that's super specialty, there's like literally no reason to buy like specialty food paints. You can just use your Chef Master food gels. And I specifically also am saying Chef Master, not because I'm like a rep for their brand or anything like that. Truly their colors I find paint on the best, especially their white gel. A lot of other brands of white gel have binding agents and fillers that make it great for adding, you know, as a color to your buttercream or your royal icing, because they bind with the ingredients in that really well. But when you're painting on it, it causes a really awful clumping when you're painting. So Chef Master is like a very like pure white, like it's basically just titanium dioxide and the glycerin. So there will be no clumping if you're using that to paint on your cookies. Sweet Sticks also make some great food paints. They make, the paint powders are also really excellent if you do want to buy something super specialty for food painting. But if you're just painting on royal icing, just use your Chef Master food gels because they work perfectly. They won't work on oil-based things like chocolate, so you'll need something specialty for that. But for royal icing, I just use my regular food gels. Saves me both space and money, not having to buy like two types of coloring agents. I just buy my Chef Master, and that fully fulfills my need for painting and coloring my icing. All right, so I'm going to add some more sort of details to his little cap here. Just like little folds in the fabric. And if you're just joining now, I see a few people just joined. If you're just joining now, this cookie is called Caga Tió. He is the pooping log from Catalonia, Spain, a region that includes Barcelona. So if you've been there at Christmas time, you may have seen these little decorative items. So Caga Tió translates to pooping log in Catalan, a language spoken in some regions of Spain. And he is a whimsical Christmas character. And the tradition really centers around, he is a log decorated with a face. He's got little log legs. He wears a cap, and a blanket is placed over his lower half in the hopes that on Christmas Eve he will magically defecate gifts for the children. So starting, early December, he is placed in the home. Need to repipe that line. He's placed in the home in a prominent spot where he's, offered food and nuts and fruit, kind of like how we, leave cookies and milk out for Santa Claus. And then on Christmas Eve, the family gathers around him. They sing traditional songs. They use sticks to beat him while demanding that he produce gifts. And then they pull the blanket off his lower half, and lo and behold, there are small presents, candies, treats, as if he had magically defecated the presents. So that is the story behind Spain's pooping log. I think it is a really fun and funny tradition. My sister's husband, his family is from Spain. Last year, my mom made them, crafted them a pooping log for their home. So I just think it is just such a fun, it is a riot of a tradition. And I'm just going to add just little details to the sides of the gifts now. And sometimes instead of painting on a gradient shadow, I'd like to add these sort of detail lines. It's just a slightly different look that I really, really like. And it's a little bit easier than trying to shade in a nice gradient. So I just sort of add these delicate little lines. Again, if you're just joining, this is Caga Tió, the pooping log from Spain. He is a Catalan Christmas tradition. For us North Americans, a lesser known Christmas character. I think he's so much fun. And yeah, this is a cookie cutter and stamp set that's available in my online shop. It looks like this. So it comes as 2 pieces. So you stamp your cookie, bake it up, and now I'm just decorating it, and the whole process for decorating it I will save to my feed. So if anybody does purchase this cookie cutter, and lots of people have since last year, and I really wanted to put together some tutorials on how to decorate them without it having to be something you have to pay for, because you would already have had to buy the cookie cutter. So just a free tutorial, full length, real time on my page. So I'll save it there. So, oops, no, clump of icing. So it will just be there. So you can always just rewind and check out how to decorate this cookie. Oh my goodness. There we go. Yeah, and I've previously done, last week I did Italy's, the Christmas witch from Italy, La Befana. She looks like this. So her video is on my page, the full-length tutorial on decorating this cookie. The Christmas spider, this is an Eastern Ukrainian tradition. And then the Yule cat from Iceland, pooping log from Spain. And then I also have one for Krampus, and I'll probably do him either tomorrow or Monday. So that's how the cookie looks undecorated. Yeah, so I'm doing full-length decorating videos for each of these lesser-known Christmas characters. That will be saved to my feed for future reference. Okay, I'm going to paint on the rings of his face, like the little tree rings. When someone said that they own the Christmas spider and Yule Cat cutters. Yeah, so both of those videos are already posted to my feed if you want to follow along the whole decorating process. I mean, you obviously don't have to like decorate it to like the full capacity that I'm doing it with painting and everything. You can stop after the piping and the flooding process and it still looks just as cute, but I'm doing the full length thing just, you know, if you have the time and you want to do the whole entire thing, you totally can. Yeah, just on my feed for free. It's got a cover that says real-time full-length decorating tutorial, so should be easy to find. Okay, and I'm gonna add white here, and I'm gonna add all the rings around his face. And this white is actually, I just have some in my paint palette. This is the Sweet Sticks white paint powder. So this is just pure titanium dioxide, and you just add a little bit of vodka to turn it into like a liquid paint. It's just sort of one more step, I guess, than having to use Chef Master. Chef Master comes in liquid form already. It's just the glycerin plus the titanium dioxide. The paint powder, though, you can make it a little bit more concentrated if you need, which is a nice thing about it. But usually I will just use my Chef Master gel, but I just happen to have the Sweet Sticks paint powder in my paint palette, so I am just reactivating that and using it. Okay, so there are the tree rings and the cross section of the log. I'm gonna add a little bit of brown paint. Actually, I use a different brush. Or not, I just lost the paintbrush. Okay, I'll use this paintbrush. I'm gonna add a little bit of brown just in here. And a little bit of brown in this line here. Okay, so there he is so far, almost done. I'm gonna give him some little painted on eyebrows, and then I can get started on the final details. So again, I'm just gonna grab my super fine tip paintbrush and my black. Give him some little like brush stroke eyebrows here. And on the other side. He is so cute. If you're just joining, this is Caga Tió, the pooping log, a Christmas character tradition from Spain, Catalonian region specifically, and other Catalan-speaking regions. Oh shoot, I did not mean to do that. See if I can wipe it away a bit. Just shoved my brush right into like the bridge of his nose, not where I wanted to put black. So I'm just gonna use this damp brush to kind of lift the color off, except it's a little bit hard to do on icing that's still wet. Okay, sort of blend it a little bit. Hopefully it lightens as it dries. There we go. Let's see. Gonna do some details on the little bows on his gifts. Oh, and I just did that. Nice. This is why I don't recommend painting when your cookie is still wet, because you handle it differently. So if you are following along with this tutorial, at some point in the future, please give it several hours between piping, flooding, and painting so you don't mess up your cookie. Okay, it's sort of fixed. And I'll just add like some little details to the bows, like the knot. Some outlines so it's not just a clump of white icing here. All right, and then after this bow, final sort of detail that I'll add. Actually, no, that's a lie. I'll still add a few highlights, but major detail that I'll add is the plaid pattern on this blanket. So I will paint on a red plaid pattern. Okay, so there's our little gifts. a bit more sort of like these hairline details. I'm nervous, it's still quite wet. Okay, so this is the red pattern that I'm going to paint on. This is the cookie I made last year. Coated it in resin to preserve it. Added magnets to the back, so it's been on my fridge ever since. So this is the pattern that I'm going to recreate on this blanket here. I'm going to use this thicker brush, and I'm going to mix my red food coloring with some brown food coloring so that it becomes like a deeper sort of burgundy-ish tone. And then I'm going to start painting some vertical and then horizontal stripes. And hope that I don't puncture through this wet icing as I do this. All right, on the thinnest part of this crusted over icing, if I'm gonna puncture through anywhere, it's gonna be here. Again, painting royal icing, please give it several hours before you paint royal icing. Unlike me right now, just want to do this all within this live stream time. So it's had like probably not even 45 minutes of drying time. Okay, so there's one set of stripes, and I'm going to go horizontally. Try and hold it up so the light, so you guys can see it without too much of the shine going on here. Okay, so here's the first layer of my plaid pattern almost done. Okay, so it's not quite plaid yet. It's just like squares. So basically now everywhere the lines intersect, I'm gonna add like even darker red, like almost black red. So just everywhere where the squares intersect. where the lines intersect, I'm going to paint like a little black square. And there's our plaid pattern taking shape. Okay, so there is our little plaid blanket. Super easy to do. And the last thing I'm going to do to really enhance the plaid is to add white like to the thread as well. So I'm just going to use my white gel that I did with the face, like the tree lines in the face. And in between all of the darker painted lines, I will add vertical and horizontal white stripes. And this will bring it to the next level of plaid. Okay, and now to add the horizontal stripes in between all the darker stripes here. All right, and now that I think this band of his hat is a little bit more dry, add some of the final shading in there and then the highlights, and then he's done. So I'm just going to add in some red mixed with brown food coloring to just add like some shading around the edges here. maybe just like a little bit of shadow on his head here where his cap would maybe cast a bit of a shadow. All right, now I'm going to add those last final like highlighting details with just some white gel. So again, when you're adding shadows, you should also add highlights because it just adds that extra dimension. Oh yes, and a little shine on his nose. Can't forget about that. All right, and I gotta grab my super fine tipped brush again. To have more control, the finer the tip on the brush is. Get that shine super opaque. And then probably add a little couple of like striations on the log too. Again, just for further dimension. And now maybe some highlights on the gift. I mean, there's no point at which I ever feel like I'm finished. right, have I covered everything here? I think so, just about. Really, he just needs some time to dry now. Okay, so there he is. My Catalonian Spanish Caga Tió, the pooping log. A Catalonian Christmas tradition from Spain. If you're only just joining right now, I just spent the last hour or so, hour and a bit, decorating this cookie. This is Caga Tió, the pooping log, a whimsical Christmas tradition from Catalonia, Spain. Barcelona's in the Catalonia region, if you're wondering where that region is. It is a log decorated with a hat, painted face, lower half's covered with a seasonal blanket. Families feed Caga Tió by placing in a prominent spot in their homes. They offer it food. Christmas Eve, kids gather around him, beat him with a stick, sing traditional songs, and demand that he produce gifts. And when they remove the blanket from his lower half, lo and behold, there are small presents, candies, and treats, as if he has magically defecated presents for the children. So this is a tradition in that part of Spain. I think is super fun and super funny. I love him. And the cookie cutter and stamp set for this is available in my online shop. It looks like this. Comes as 2 pieces. Comes with the card, so you know the story behind him. They're wrapped up in a little bag. And then this is the full decorating video. Previously, I did the Yule cat from Iceland, the Christmas spider. This is Eastern Ukraine. La Befana, the Christmas witch from Italy. This is the pooping log from Spain. And on either tomorrow or Monday, I will decorate this Krampus cookie, Krampus from Austria. So these are the 5 lesser known Christmas characters from European folklore. Cookie cutters that I have available in my online shop. So I've decorated the first 4, now including this one. And I have 1 more to do. And I'm saving them all to my Instagram feed. So if you do own the cutters, and stamps and you want to know how to decorate them fully, you can just now find them on my Instagram page. Totally free. I'll leave them up forever. And all you need is your icing and some paintbrushes and then the cookie cutter and stamp set to make these. And that's how this one turned out. And I think he is so cute. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me for this. Just 1 more to go before Christmas. Krampus, either tomorrow or Monday. And he'll also be saved to my feed. So happy holidays, happy weekend. Hopefully people have time off of work. This next week, I don't, but I work from home, so it's okay. So there we go. There's Caga Tió, the pooping log from Catalonia, Spain. And I'll see you guys next time.